Hello from my growth chamber, which is just a shelf. This is a bookshelf, and I've put a little grow light in here, and it's a warm, kind of protected area. I have a little fan that you can't see, but this is where I keep my seedlings. And I just want to share a little bit of really cool stuff about seeds and seedlings. So before seeds germinate, they're like little tiny embryos just waiting to burst forth. So it's almost like everything that they need is inside that seed. It's like a little egg. And there's about 2% of that seed that has water in it. So we think of seeds as being totally dry, and we want to keep them dry. We keep them dry so that they don't germinate. A fully grown plant has something like 95 to 90% of its total mass is made up of water. But a seed actually only has about 2% of its mass that's made up of water. And when it gets enough water, I'm going to show you from these pepper seedlings. I'm going to damage a little bit pulling out. So when the seed gets enough water, it actually triggers hormonal change, and it'll start to produce auxin, which is a growth hormone. And the seed, we've all done this little experiment when we were in elementary school, it starts to put a root that goes down, called a radicle, and it starts to poke its little nose up, and then it will unfurl out of the soil. And as soon as the leaves unfurl, those are the cotyledon leaves, they will start to be exposed to sunlight, and they'll start to photosynthesize. And photosynthesis is one of the most miraculous chemical reactions on Earth. It actually takes light and water and turns it into sugar for plants that we then eat, and they serve us for nutrients, and they feed plants, and it's amazing. So this pepper was a little seed, and when it starts to grow, its roots will go down. There will be a straight root that goes down, and it'll start to branch off. When it's still a little seedling root like this, these new seeds or these new root branches, they're quite delicate, and they are looking for moisture in the tiny little pockets around the soil. And so that's why when we're planting seeds, we actually want to use a potting soil. We want to use a germination soil. We don't want to use a potting soil, because these roots are so fine and so delicate that if we use just a regular potting soil, they might hit giant air pockets and just stop growing. It won't get what it needs in order to survive. So we want to use the right kind of soil. We want these roots to take shape. This is a pepper. You can see the seed is still attached to the top of the leaf. And if you listen quietly, you can hear Renzo is calling me and telling me that it's bedtime. So this seed casing is about to come off of this cotyledon. The true leaf is already starting to grow. Most of the fruiting will take place up above ground for a pepper plant. So these leaves are the solar panels. They will do all that photosynthetic conversion of light and oxygen into sugars, and it will pull those sugars down, keep them in the roots for a bit of storage, and the plant will use that as it circulates through the xylem and phloem of the plant throughout its life. If it's a plant like a root vegetable, like a carrot or a radish or a parsnip, that little taproot that goes down actually becomes the storage vessel for that plant. So all of those sugars that get created up in the foliage of a carrot, all that photosynthesis is going to get stored down in the root. And that root, that's what we're eating, are the sugars that a carrot has actually produced from photosynthesis. So we're eating the magic of sun when we eat a carrot or when we eat a beet. And it's just kind of amazing. And I love this time of year because it's so full of potential, except for these two little example peppers that I pulled out and showed to you. But it's an amazing time. It's not too late to plant your tomatoes. It's a bit late to be planting peppers. So at this point, I would recommend, if you want peppers, go to a garden center and buy them from a grower, a reputable grower, and plant those up. Not too late to start your tomatoes. Not too late to start really much else other than onions, snapdragons, peppers. Those are, as I say, those are a bit too late. But everything else, give it a go. Just make sure that you're using potting soil, that it's damp, not soaking wet. I say potting soil all the time. You're going to use germination soil, seed starting mix. Make sure that it's damp, not wet. You want it to be the right temperature, so you want it to be in the mid-high 20s. If you have a heat mat, that would be a great thing to use for getting things started. And then as soon as they start to pop up, as soon as the radicle goes down and the cotyledon starts to come up out of the soil, you want to make sure that you take the dome off of your tray. And you want to make sure that you get the plants underneath the light. So again, you want it 4 to 6 inches above the leaf, and you're going to keep the soil damp but not soaking while your seedlings are growing. And then once you get to the 4-leaf stage, you're going to pop them up, and that's when you can start to feed them. But don't feed them any nutrients until you get to the 4-leaf stage. They just don't need it. They've got everything they need in that miraculous little seed. Happy gardening.